Welcome to the Cat Protection Society Perfect Podcast, a podcast developed for cat-loving humans who want to ensure their cat has a happy, healthy, safe and enriched 9 lives, and to celebrate just how amazing cats are as companion animals.
Are you considering welcoming a cat or kitten in need into your heart and home? A visit to the Cat Protection Society of Victoria in Greensborough is a must. They've been helping Victorians find their perfect feline family member for over 75 years. And if you already have a cat and you're simply looking for the very best in veterinary care for your marvellous Moggy, check out their cat-friendly, cat-only vet clinic. To learn more, visit catprotection.com.au.
Welcome to the Perfect Podcast. We're here today to chat about all things cat curfews. Australia has one of the highest rates of pet ownership in the world, with over a quarter of Australian households owning a cat. There are approximately 6.5 million cats across Australia, covering some 99% of the total landmass, and pet cats account for 3.77 million of the total cat population. Sadly, pet cats in Australia collectively kill 390 million animals per year, with many species now extinct because of predatory events. I'm joined today with Emily, our shelter manager and a veterinary nurse from the Cat Protection Society, and Natalia, an animal behaviourist, to chat more about cat curfews, what cat owners can do to help their cat transition to the adjustment, and any warning signs that they should look out for to highlight that their cat may be struggling with the transition. Thanks for joining us. Emily, as shelter manager at the Cat Protection Society and a vet nurse, what's your opinion on cat curfews?
I think they're long overdue.
Okay.
I think we kind of agree that dogs need to be kept on properties for everyone's safety, but cats have kind of just been left out and forgotten about. So I think it's actually very overdue for cats to be kept on premises in a cat curfew.
Okay. Nat, from the perspective of an animal behaviourist, what is your opinion?
I would agree, actually, especially comparing them to dog requirements. And I think it's a really reasonable strategy to try and reduce physical risks to cats and wildlife and also just our neighbours.
Okay. Em, what do you think is the impetus behind more and more councils introducing these curfews?
It's probably got to do with wildlife. I think we're very much more aware of our wildlife these days, so keeping them safe, but also keeping the cat safe and responsible pet ownership. Okay. And making sure that everyone's safe and that no one's getting hurt, and we can make sure that everyone is supposed to be where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, great. As some of our listeners may know, the Cat Protection Society recommend that any cat adopted from our society is kept indoors or within the vicinity of an owner's property in a cat enclosure or similar. Why is that the case?
For safety. I think the biggest one, what I always see is your cat jumps a fence, you don't know what's on the other side of the fence. You don't know if there's an angry dog or if your cat goes and attacks a postman, which does happen. And wildlife as well. As I said, they go out and kill so much wildlife, and it's just for everyone's safety.
Yeah. And I know I heard a terrifying fact that the average life expectancy for a cat that is allowed to roam outdoors is 4. In comparison to a cat that is confined is 15 years. So that's a huge difference.
Yeah, definitely.
So we've spoken a little bit about the benefits to keeping cats indoors. Are there any additional benefits from the local community or a societal perspective that are worth highlighting?
Cat attacks, and once again, they do happen,
yeah.
Funny as they sound. And as I said, wildlife, also missing cats, pregnancies as well. It just means that we get more and more cats in the community, which means more people are getting cats that aren't going to the vets, and then the cycle's just continuing.
Yeah. Nat, how would you respond to the argument that cat curfews are unfair to cats?
To me, it seems very reasonable to keep any domestic pet confined to your property. I actually work with a lot of clients who have to modify their own fencing and properties to keep nuisance animals out and protect their own pets who are contained and get really distressed by having wandering cats come through. So I think that that's something that we should be thinking about in terms of our communities and our neighbours. I also think that it's very reasonable for us to try and find a balance between giving cats what they need to be happy and healthy and also protecting our native wildlife, because we do have such rich wildlife here in Australia. I also think that members of the community deserve to be able to drive their car without a cat or a dog running out in front of them and potentially getting into an accident. And so I would definitely agree with what Em said initially, that over the last few decades we've seen dog confinement really change and increase over time, and it seems quite overdue that we haven't done the same for cats just yet. But that being said, obviously when there's confinement for an animal and we're reducing their access to be able to exercise physically and gain a lot of stimulation and do a lot of normal cat behaviours, there will be some trade-offs, and there's going to be things that we need to try and balance out to make sure that they can be healthy still.
Okay. Big question. Can a cat happily live indoors full time? Nat?
I say yes with an asterisk to this. Yep. The reason I say that is because I think we all know cats who happily live indoors and they're pretty easygoing and adaptable. I tend to see the cats that are not so adaptable, or they're having pretty significant challenges. And so one of the things that I come back to is all animals need direct access to sunlight, fresh air, and their feet need to touch the ground. And so we can provide those things through cat enclosures or cat-proof fencing. More and more now people are training their cats to walk on a harness and lead so that they can have that safe outdoor time. Catios are another great option for people with balconies too. So we're trying to find, those ways that cats can still have access to the basics they need.
Okay. Em, is there anything you'd like to add?
I see hundreds of happy cats in here, especially ones that come off the streets and they come in here and they go, oh, life's not that bad, We get fed, we get played with, we have toys, we're not fighting for life anymore. So I think they can live happily indoors full time. My cats are happy indoors. You open the front door and they just look at it like, why are we going out there? It's cold and wet. So I think it's, as Natalia said, it's all about enrichment and making sure we're giving them what they need to make them happy.
Okay. So what we know is that there's a lot of Victorian councils that are introducing 24-hour cat curfews in the coming months. So what can cat owners do that have previously allowed their cat to have free access outside? What are some measures that they can put in place to help them adjust kind of pre this curfew coming into place?
I would get started with a transition as soon as you know that a curfew is coming to your area. The more time that you allow yourself to work on this, the better. The first thing I would do is get to learn what your cat's normal time budget is. And a time budget just refers to what amounts of time during the day your cat spends doing different normal activities. So it could be time spent grooming, time spent playing, sleeping, roaming, patrolling, hunting, that kind of thing. So firstly, know their time budget. Figure out if there are particular times of day that's really important for them to patrol and what areas of your property are most important for them to be patrolling. And then I would start by reducing their outdoor time, or free roaming time, I should say, when they're most likely to be doing things like grooming, napping, playing with you at home. Allow them to be having that outdoor outlet at the times where it's most important for them to be patrolling or communicating with any other cats that are in the neighbourhood. And then I would gradually shift that over a matter of weeks and start encouraging them to be spending more and more times inside when it's most easy and makes the most sense to the cat, and leaving the most challenging times of day for them till the very latest point. And then on top of that, I would definitely try and bring nature into your house. So if you can bring safe plants for cats, things like cat grass, cat mint, catnip, those are all excellent. Make sure that you've catified your home, as Jackson Galaxy would say. Make sure that your cats have plenty of high places that they can climb, hides that they can jump in and out and ambush. Make sure that we've got enough key resource stations around the house, especially if you've got a multi-cat household. So things like food and water bowls, additional litter trays, additional scratching posts, plenty of sleeping areas for them. And then I would be swapping as quickly as you can to feeding through food puzzles and activities rather than through a bowl. That's a great way to channel a lot of those natural hunting instinctive behaviours. and it means that your cat is going to have a lot less energy left over for frustrated, problematic behaviours to pop up. I'd be looking at feeding them multiple times a day rather than just once or twice. Cats are designed to hunt and eat around a dozen times in a 24-hour window. So it's a really good idea to be offering them small portions of food in a 24-hour period. I would be making sure that cats are getting direct access to sunlight first thing in the morning, so as close to dawn as possible, because that's going to set up that biological rhythm to be more on track with us and our routine rather than being a party animal all night and keeping you awake. And that's probably what I would start with.
Okay, very comprehensive. Emily, is there any additional tips that your team recommend at the adoption shelter?
Yeah, so we always say set the precedence that they're going to be inside cats.
Yep.
Don't get them home and be like, oh, look, you can go outside and play for half an hour. So always start with you are going to be an inside cat. As Natalia said, lots of toys, lots of hiding spots, lots of places to jump and run, and start slow. So we don't recommend you get home and you let them out in your house. You just start in one room and then slowly open up your house when they're comfortable. And if you are going to take them outside and you can't get a catio or a cat enclosure, lead train them. So you can take them for a bit of a stroll around the backyard when they feel like it.
Yep.
That's what we recommend.
Okay, great. Nat, I know this is a really variable question, but as a guide, how long do you think cat owners should allow to help their cat adjust with the transition, and does it differ based on the age of the cat?
I don't think the age matters necessarily, but I do think the previous learning history matters. So if you've had a cat that's been outdoors for 5 years of its life, that's obviously going to be a much harder thing to shift for them compared to a kitten that's never been outside.
Yeah.
Or, a young cat who's predominantly been an indoor cat. You could have, a senior cat that's been mostly indoors their whole life and prefers being indoors, and that could be a really easy process.
Yeah.
You could have a 1-year-old cat that's come from a life of being a stray or living in a colony outdoors, and that might be a lot more challenging to shift. So know the history.
Yep.
And then as a general time frame, I would say about 3 to 6 months
Okay.
you're looking at. I usually notice a really good improvement around the 6-week mark though.
Okay.
So things should be on track during those first few weeks. You should be noticing that your cat's acclimating by the 6-week mark, but give yourself as much time as you can.
Yeah, great advice. Hopefully cat owners don't face this struggle, but what are some of the signs that they should look out for that their cat is really struggling with the transition? And if that is the case, what's your advice on what they should do next?
So I think some of the common things we'll see are excess vocalization. And that can be particularly at doorways and windows, really meowing at you to let them out, let them have some freedom. You might see difficulty with toileting, so either not using the litter box or starting to spray where they might previously not have had that problem. You might have increased rough play, or you may even see aggressive behaviours arise. And general frustration behaviours, so spending more time walking across your laptop and trying to get your attention, walking across in front of the TV, knocking glasses off the counter, chewing your indoor plants, digging up indoor plants. So those kind of things that your cat might be doing to elicit your attention because they have a need to get some of this energy out. And then the other things that we might see that can be tricky for people are increased scratching, particularly of carpets and furniture. And another behaviour I'd look out for is if your cat's becoming quite lethargic or flat and not wanting to engage in the things that normally make them happy, things like eating and playing and spending time with you.
Okay. So if a cat owner does identify some of those issues, what would you recommend they do next?
Anytime you've got serious behaviour concerns, I always recommend a vet check. I think that's a really good thing to be doing because behaviour and physical can go hand in hand together. And sometimes the first symptoms that we will see are behavioural, but there can be a physical reason.
Yeah.
So a vet check is always the first place to start. And then if you've done that and it's come back clear, I would go back to those suggestions that I've made. Make sure that you're ticking all of those boxes off. You're providing everything that your cat needs. And then if that's still causing you stress and causing your cat stress, I would look into getting some professional behaviour support and seeing if there's additional training strategies that we could be doing.
Okay, great. Emily, are there any products that the Cat Protection Society recommend that may assist cat owners in keeping their cat confined?
Toys.
Yep.
Toys. They don't have to be expensive either. I think people go like really expensive, but a cardboard box can be the best fun.
Yep.
We do recommend cat harnesses if you're going to start walking them, which are, we don't recommend the sort of the thin ones. We recommend the big bulky ones that look like a dog harness. The catios are really good. Cat enclosures are really good. And you can get cheap versions of these as well.
Yeah.
That do work just as well. They're not the highest quality, but if you're struggling, that you can go down that road as well. That's what we would recommend.
Okay. And Emily, obviously as our shelter manager, you are privy to all the cats and kittens that come into the society. So do you have any adoption success stories where a cat who had previously been allowed to roam outdoors has transitioned to indoor living and is now thriving that you can share with our listeners?
My life always comes back to Boo Boo. So for those that don't know, Boo Boo is our community cat. He is a cat trapped in a Staffy's body. Walks on a harness. He's the happiest cat ever. But when Boo Boo came to us, he had never lived in a house. You could tell he was terrified of people. He didn't like anyone, and he has multiple medical injuries. He now lives in a foster home because he is our community cat. He goes out to old age people in care homes on a lead, sits on a bed, loves life. He will not get off a couch. You cannot get him off a couch. You cannot get him off a kitchen bench. He's happy to share your food. He looks at the outdoors and wonders why he ever lived out there. I have tried to have lunch with him in our outdoor courtyard when he's here, and he sits at the door and screams at me until I let him back inside so that he can go back to bed. And I think for Boo Boo, he is living his absolute best life, knowing that he's never, ever, ever going to be on the streets again.
Yeah.
And he's just one of so many cats that we have that come in and go, oh, my life is complete. Someone loves me. I have a bed. I have food. I don't have to go and fight other cats.
Yeah, perfect example. Nat, Emily, anything else that you'd like to share with listeners around cat curfews before we close off?
I think Natalia said it best when she said they're domesticated animals. We do have a lot of people who go, they're wild animals, they need to be free, and we need to remember that they're not wild, that they're domesticated, and we can associate them with living in the house if we do it properly.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, and I would just urge people to consider the trade-off. So when we're keeping our cats physically safer, it means that we're going to have to work a bit harder to make sure that we're keeping them mentally stimulated and allowing access for that physical energy.
Yeah. Excellent, ladies. Thank you so much for the chat. As said, Emily, who is our shelter manager at the Cat Protection Society, and Natalia Dundovich. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Cat Protection Society Perfect Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the show in your podcast app so you don't miss an episode. And we'd love if you can share this podcast with any friends, family or colleagues who all love things cats. In the meantime, you can visit our website at www.catprotection.com.au.